Hello and welcome. I'm Larry Horist, and we're about to begin today's interesting conversation. And we have two really good guests today to participate in all that. We have Marina Elias, who is a former ballerina. She is a real estate analyst. She comes to us through California, originally from the Ukraine and Russia. And we also have with us Preston of one name. Preston is also in real estate. He's more into the building and rehabbing side of it. Grew up in Detroit and has had a very intense interest in public affairs and the kind of things we talk about on this program. So let's begin the conversation. Where shall we start?
I think we should start with the topic of universal basic income.
Universal basic income. That would mean that everybody in America has an income, whether they're working or not.
Free income in the amount of $400 to $500
per month. Terrible idea. That's a terrible idea. Basically, to do that, which has already been tested, and even in this country, it hasn't worked. Been tested broadly in other countries, it hasn't worked. So to do that again here, you're talking about a system where they're proposing to give this minimum amount of income without any criteria except to be born in that municipality.
Now we're talking about income for every American, I assume adult American. I don't know if the children will get income. Mm-hmm. But does that mean if I'm making $200,000, $300,000 a year, I still get a $500 check from the government?
No, this is for unemployed people only.
Only unemployed
So this
people.
is basically, this was created in order to deal with the problem of unemployment and the problem of poverty in the United States. But my true opinion that this is not going to be the right solution to a long-term problem of unemployment and poverty. And the advocates for universal basic income continue to argue that giving the citizens of the United States free income of $500 will encourage them and will make them follow their dreams and pursue their passions. But I think it will just do the opposite. I think it will really create a population of lazy freeloaders who will just sit on their asses all day long and continue to watch TV or play video games. In addition to that, it will intensify the problem that we have in the United States of America right now, which is drugs and alcohol abuse.
Well, let me ask you, don't we already pay people who are unemployed? They have unemployment coverage for, they extend it in times of financial setback, sometimes for 26 months or even more. So for a couple, 2-3 years, right. People do get paid. Well, would this be over and above that?
Not only over and if it would be over and above that, this is also for folks that have never even had a job. So if you are living at a certain poverty level, then you qualify, whether you've even had a job or not. Mm-hmm. So there's no impetus to do more, to get out and try to get a skill. If you are so inclined to be a recipient of this program, then this is just going to feed your basic needs. If you're going to lose drive, if you already have no drive, the only thing you want to do is survive. Your basic need to eat, to have your lights on, sleep, and to entertain yourself. It's not gonna motivate you to learn a skill, hone a craft, go to school. It's not paying for college. It's not teaching you education. It's not even means tested.
Right. There are a lot of people actually in the United States that are taking an unfair advantage of the welfare system as is. So by giving this free income to them, it will just encourage them to continue to do nothing. Humans are born to strive to become better, pursue their passions, dream, grow, learn. And by giving them this free income, the government is basically taking that ability to strive away from them, which will eventually lead to human destruction.
Well, again, we do have welfare programs. We said that people who are unemployed get paid. They get money from the government on unemployment insurance coverage. People who are not unemployed, in a sense, who've never worked or something like that, they have welfare benefits. They have a whole range of housing benefits, food benefits. Now, is this, again, going to be another payment over and above? Because it sounds to me like a welfare program.
Well, the welfare program is termed, so that has a deadline. You can only receive that, from what I understand, for so many years. So I would assume that this program will kick in at some point when there's no other income for you to legally receive. And then now you become eligible if you weren't already eligible. But if you take that long in a welfare program, and do nothing with yourself, do nothing with your life, and now you're waiting for this $400, $500, and you know that's going to kick in, there's no motivation, there's no drive to do more, there's no drive to do better. If you're involved in drugs, then all you need is food. You're not thinking about what you're going to do. People that will consign themselves to that type of system won't really have the drive as it is. That's not going to motivate them to get the drive.
Mm-hmm. But what do we do about the welfare mother who is actually economically better off on welfare than getting a job? Because if she gets a job, she has to hire the babysitter, she has to make her lunch, she has to be out of the office, she has transportation costs, and she has a lot of other factors. And when you add that up, a job that is at the bottom of the scale, which was maybe the best job she can get, doesn't match the welfare benefit.
Right.
So,
well, the welfare in a lot of states, those programs do require some participation. Whereas this guaranteed basic income program doesn't. So at least in that program, this mother would have an opportunity to participate in some schooling, seeking job employment, and other requirements that are set out by that program. Whereas this universal basic income doesn't have those requirements.
There are no requirements whatsoever, and in fact, universal basic income has proven to be ineffective in Europe, for instance, where in Switzerland they gave away $1,500, which is 1,600 euros, to the population, which created a huge, deficiency in the government. I believe it's 60 million euros, something like that. And let me ask you, who is going to pay for it at the end of the day?
Well,
taxpayers?
That's the classic question. And, one thing I think people don't fully understand how an economy works. In a healthy economy, a perfectly healthy economy, everyone is a consumer and producer.
Right.
Which means you work to earn something.
Yes.
And when you spend that, you're making a job for somebody else.
Yes.
Somebody else has to produce what you're buying. Okay? Now, we know we have to take care of certain people who are not producers. They can only consumers. So who are those people? Children. Our children.
Yes.
They live off the parents' consumption or something. People who are seriously handicapped may not be able to produce. People temporarily unemployed are not producing. But you have to have a certain level of producers. Right now, I believe the statistic in America is somewhere that we are around 40% producers in the United States against 60 consumers, consumer producers or whatever. So
That's
what we
quite
have to
off
do,
balance.
the only way we can have people survive, according to one theory, is you take the money away from the people who produce it and just give it to the people who consume it. But the problem is, you pointed it out, those people will never become producers.
They won't.
Right.
And you get more and more consumers and fewer producers.
They've tried it in Finland as well. They tried this universal basic income in Finland for 2 years. And after 2 years, they gave them $683 per month, or euros, and it didn't work for them. It's up for renewal now, and they have not determined that they're going to renew this program any longer because it hasn't worked as in 2 years' time. So if we are taking lessons from the rest of the world and other areas that's trying it, then we would see that this is something that's not sustainable. In this country is certainly not a good idea because the way we're trying to develop technologically, economically, and in how we're trying to improve, that's a terrible idea. That's only going to take us backwards. Mm-hmm. Whatever happened to teach a man to fish rather than they give a man a fish? Mm-hmm. In this case, all of these recipients, they're not going to learn. They won't become producers. They won't be able to provide the fish.
And think about the future generation. What's going to happen to children of those freeloaders?
Yes, the children are going to react to the parents. If the parents do nothing, the children will neither.
Well, we see that, in society today. For example, one of the things that we look at, you were born and raised in Detroit.
Correct.
Detroit is a perfect example of a city where you have too many consumers and the producers all left.
Yes.
They took the money for a while, then the producers left.
I think the only solution to a long-term problem of unemployment and poverty would be to maybe invest some of this money into learning facilities, maybe partially paid or completely free, so it will help those less skilled workers to stay motivated, learn new skills, continue to grow, and
yes.
It will help them, it will protect them from automation and outsourcing.
Yes. The last 10 to 15 years, they've been taking money out of the educational system, closing down vocational programs in schools. These learning systems, centers that provided these types of education and training for people in the inner cities, they no longer have this. So they take away what can really enrich the lives of folks and then throw them a bone and say, look, get along with that for now. It's not that the people that's putting this together, they don't want, from the liberal side, they're not expressing that they're very concerned about the livelihood and the quality of life for the people that they're purporting to help. But they want the votes. We'll give you this money, you vote for us now, vote for us again, we'll try to keep giving it to you. They're only concerned about the votes. It's not the quality of life, clearly.
And?
Anything else that we want to add? I'm 100% against universal basic income.
I think what we've established is that examples all show us that it will not work. It will not work. It has not worked. And the fact that we're seeing it shows us that this idea of socialism, and I think one of the most egregious things was Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who said, even if people don't want to work, we should still pay them. And I think that's the bottom line.
Terrible idea.
We all agree. Okay, that's it for now. We'll be moving on to other subjects, so look us up and participate in the conversation by hearing us, and maybe one day we'll even have you calling in. Who knows?
All right.
Bye.